I've already messed up. Okay. I'm just doing a quick tutorial of how to use all the tools on Flipaclip. If you're starting out, this might help you. And if you still haven't figured out all the buttons, this may also help you. So, I just have a copy of my Requiem part here. No backgrounds yet. Ooh, looks like this copy doesn't have all the lines. Alright, that's fine. So anyway, I'm gonna go through all the buttons and then maybe talk a little bit about how I use the layers. Okay, so you probably already know that this red button at the top helps you manage your tools, change the opacity of your tools, change the width and all that. You probably already know this is the eraser and that you can modify it in here. This is the blur on the edge. This is the opacity. If you want to kind of fuzz out something, like say you're using shading. Where's my shading layer? Okay, here it is. If, say you want to buffer out shading, you can put it on a big blur sort of deal here, and then have a low opacity, and you can just kind of gently like remove the darkness of your shading. And if you want to have shading, you can always, it doesn't look great in Flipaclip, so I kind of, and when you merge layers down, like, you'd think it'd be easy and you could just lower the opacity of a layer like this, but once you merge it down, it goes back to 100% opacity. So you can't just like draw normally and then lower the opacity unless you have enough layers free to keep a shading layer throughout your whole animation, then I guess you're okay. But if you're like me and you need to use a lot of layers because you have all these moving parts, you can just take the paintbrush, lower the opacity down to 1, and then do that, and it kind of gives you a really like muffled sort of thing, and you want to be gentle with it because when you go over it a lot of times it goes back to a pretty full opacity. Alright, so right here is the lasso, and the lasso is great, one of my favorite tools. To use the lasso, you just drag around whatever you want to lasso. There's the trash can, which just sends that away. Then there's also underneath the trash can, there's the 2 little flip tools that just flip whatever you have selected, upside down or right up. And then you can also stretch like this. You can move it around, so like if you're trying to have like a really bad Flipaclip pan, you can just move it more to the side, like frame by frame. It's better if you do it quicker, because then it won't look as bad. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's also the fill tool, which you probably already know how to use. There's the text tool, which I hate. Don't use the text tool. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's okay, but like most of the fonts are pretty bad. Alright. Up here we have the ruler, which you can fondle with to make different shapes of. I like the circle one. The ruler kind of annoys me, and the square one's pretty good. It's just hard to get. Once you've like kind of arranged it to try and like make it wider or skinnier, it's just kind of like it's hard to get level again, if you know what I mean. Alright, so then there's the little 2 paper tool, and that one you press it when you've lassoed something or just when you want to copy. You can press it when you just want to copy your whole frame, or you can lasso just one part that you want to copy, and then you can go to the next frame and do the clipboard, and you could just copy what you pasted, or you know what I mean. There's the reverse and forward button. There's this button right up here that just makes it full screen. Then we have the 3 dots right here, and this is where you can modify your project settings, change your frame rate and background. You can go to your frame viewer. This is a good one for when you want to duplicate one frame like a lot. So you just go through and like select all the frames you want to duplicate a lot of. You do the 2 paper tool and copy it, and then you press the forward facing or the backwards facing clipboard tool, which will copy it either behind your selected ones in red or in front of your selected ones in red. A little confusing, but if you just mess with it, it's easy. I don't want to do it right now because it's gonna like, it just copies them all the way forward like that. Alright, gonna go through and delete all these. So you can just delete a lot of frames in here just like that by using the trash can to remove them. So frames viewer is good when you want to deal with a lot of frames at once. Onion skin, you can edit it and make it so that it shows more or less frames and uses red and green instead of just the normal colors. Grid is good. I like to use this when I'm writing so that all my letters are like the same height. Then there's also add an image, add video. Adding video, you can add any video you want and it adds it all on its own layer. From my experience, it's hard, like, when you have a Flipaclip program, like when you have your one little animation, it doesn't like adding more than one video. So after you've added like one video, it gets upset and doesn't want to let you add any more. At least that's the way it is for me. And then make a movie, of course, which is where you can just make your movie. You can change the size, I guess. I've only switched it between these two, like, I've never used the Instagram ones or any of these weird shapes, but you can also go to this button right here and change it into a GIF or an image sequence, and you can, if you have it all upgraded, you can get rid of your watermark and make a movie. So, I really hope I didn't miss anything. Let me think for a second. Oh yeah, music. I don't know if people have a lot of issues with this, but you have these 3 layers right here, and you can move your music around and move it up and down so you have more space. You can add more than one sound clip if you want. And you can download from your photo library or use the microphone and all that sort of jazz. Okay, I'm going to talk about how I use layers really fast, okay? So I normally like to have one layer where I have the back frame that I'm not going to move. So see how this one, sort of back frame is just here for a long time, but the whole mouth is still moving? I like to have moving parts and still parts on different frames, if you get my drift. So this frame right here, she isn't moving at all. Layer 73 doesn't move, but layer 56 does move, and that's the mouth. So the mouth is moving a lot through all these frames, but the body really isn't. So I'm keeping the body the same while I can animate the mouth on a different layer. So basically I don't have to redraw the body every time I draw the mouth because the body's just staying still. You can do other things where like you have a body and then you just have one leg move, so you have like the leg on a different layer and you just tween the leg or something like that. So using different layers is good for when you're doing PMV stuff and for when you're doing kind of low activity animation. But if you're doing just like a whole on action sequence, you probably just want to have your different characters on different layers. But you probably won't really need to make that many to keep everything organized because it's just everything is changing frame by frame. Okay, so I don't think I have that much more to say. If any one of my friends has a question for me, I will be happy to explain it. Just ask if there's something else you're confused about. I might make this unlisted because I don't know how many people actually want to watch this, but thanks for joining me. And if you want another tutorial for something that I completely missed, just let me know, okay? Alright, thanks for watching.